And what's going on, Chosen Conquerors? I am so excited to be with you all this week because we are going to be talking about a very serious subject, but it's one that gets overlooked sometimes by many people. But if you can figure this out at a young age, if you can understand what it is I'm going to talk about today and you will actually apply it to your life, it is going to make you, again, productive in every single aspect of your life. And for some of us out here, this message is going to hit home. It may even step on your toes. So don't put them away. Don't go put on some steel toe boots. I need you to sit right there, keep your phone or your computer focused in on this good looking light skinned brother. All right, maybe. And just make sure that you pay attention because I promise you this word is going to help. And with that being said, we are going to be coming from the book of Proverbs. That's right, Proverbs, chapter 13. And I'll be reading verse 4 in your hearing, as many of us would say, instead of 4, verse 4. And notice what the verse reads. It says, "The soul of a lazy man desires and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made rich." And I really just want to take the time to deal with, can you guess? Can you think about it just for a second? We should make this a contest. You got it yet? You know what I'm going to deal with? You should. Laziness. Don't be lazy, because as youth and young adults, if you allow that spirit of laziness to grip you in your youth, I have seen it take out the best of men and women. There are adults still to this day who have not reached their full potential because they are simply lazy. And so I want to deal with that for just a moment. Notice the verse again in Proverbs 13 and verse 4. The Bible says that a lazy man desires and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made rich. Now, before I can deal with a diligent young person, I have to first deal with a lazy young person. That means someone who is not reaching their full potential. You are not putting forth your best effort for Christ and for yourself. I need to deal with you for a second, but I also need to bust a couple bubbles or cross off a couple misconceptions. Now, some people operate under the belief that a lazy person does not desire anything. Oh, no. If we examine the verse closely, the Bible says that a lazy person desires, but they don't put any work with that desire. So myth number one, a lazy person doesn't want anything. That's just not true. There are so many people that I come across as youth and young adults, adults as well, that desire things in life, but they don't put forth any effort. And you may be saying, well, Minister, what do you mean by that? Well, let me explain. There are so many youth and young adults who, for instance, let's just say want to get all A's on their report card. That's what they desire. But when you look at the work that they put in, they don't do homework. They don't study. They don't do their part of it. The teacher gives them a study guide and they don't even use the study guide. You know, they just go into class, they sleep every single day. And they would, if you talk to them, you would probably ask them, you know, do you want all A's? And their answer would probably be yes, but you can tell based upon their actions that it's not lining up. They are simply lazy. They have everything that they need to get the job done, but they refuse to get the job done. So they do desire, but just like the verse plainly says, they have nothing to show for it. And so that, when it comes to a lazy person, is something we don't want to be. You don't want to be the type of young person where when you get old, like some people that you may know around you, that they just talk about what they should have done. They talked about what they could have done. But at the end of the day, it's the things that they never did. They never did it primarily because they were, in fact, lazy. And believe me, you don't want to be a lazy youth. The second thing that I want to bring out, a lazy person, according to the Bible, has nothing. They won't have anything in the end. Now, let me put some clarification on this. That doesn't mean that a lazy person will literally have nothing. Even though that can be the case, I want you to understand that when the Bible says they have nothing, it could also mean that they are going to lose the things that they do have. In the end, you will have nothing. So don't be confused, because another misconception or a second myth is that lazy people will just lose everything overnight. that's not really the case. It takes time for these things to come to pass. But nevertheless, if you are the type young person who's not putting in the work, who's not doing what they're supposed to do, eventually you will get to the point to where the Bible says you will have nothing. And that can be from a spiritual aspect or from a natural aspect. But again, don't expect that ruin to take place overnight. Laziness can creep up on you. It can just slowly overtake you. In the same way it slowly overtakes you, it slowly manifests itself in your life. So you will begin to lose things slowly. And that's a trick of the enemy to get us comfortable in our laziness. Whoo, if I had an organ, I'd be preaching right now, y'all, because there are so many youth and young adults that the enemy is trying to convince you that your laziness is all right. And when you look around, you're not losing anything. You seem to be doing well enough. And there are so many people, so many young people who get lazy, or that spirit of laziness comes upon them because they feel like they're doing good enough. And that spirit of good enough can lead you to eventually having nothing, because the enemy is going to slowly trick you to get you to give away certain things, to get you to give up on certain things, until the point to where you finally will sit back. You will realize, you'll get to a place in your life to where you'll be able to see, oh my gosh, I have nothing to show for where I am. There's so many adults who they get to the point to where they're 30, 40, 50, 60. And if you will talk to them, they will probably tell you they have nothing to show for the amount of time that they've been on this earth. And that could probably do with laziness. It probably has to do with them being lazy, but it didn't happen overnight. So don't get caught getting tricked by the enemy, making you think that a lazy person just going to automatically have nothing tomorrow. No. It's a slow process, but that process, I promise you, it is going to take a little time. But it will leave you feeling very empty. And that's not a feeling that you want to have. And the last thing that I want to deal with is the last part of the verse, something that should inspire you not to be lazy. And that is what the verse says in the B clause, if you will, that the soul of the diligent shall be made rich. And when I say rich, I mean spiritually. I mean rich emotionally, rich from a natural standpoint as well. If you are in fact diligent, if you are going to work, if you're putting in work for Jesus Christ, I promise you, nobody pays better than he does. Putting in work for the Lord, no one can reward you the way that he does. He's the best person to work for. He's the best person to give your all to. You just have to make sure, again, that you aren't lazy, because I've seen so many youth and young adults with so many gifts and talents, and they just been stripped away from them because they weren't using their talents. So God will actually take from you and he'll actually give to someone else. That means if I'm diligent, one of the reasons I'm going to be made rich is because there are other lazy people around me. And I know that may seem weird to some of us. And you may say, well, why would God do that? But again, it's not God doing it. He's giving us the choice. So if other people around me choose to be lazy and they don't choose to take advantage of what God has given them, but I choose to be diligent, I can inherit some of their blessings. I can get things that were meant for them. But vice versa, on the flip side, y'all, if I am the type person who gets lazy, everything that I have, things that I've accomplished, it doesn't mean I'm going to keep that. God could strip that away from me and he could give it to someone else, because at the end of the day, he wants the type servants that are always going to be diligent when it comes to kingdom business and when it comes to their own personal business, because we should handle our business as though we are handling God's business. And you may say, well, why is that, minister? It's because I've been purchased by the Lord. I've been bought with a price. So I owe him my life in every single aspect. And that's what it means to give your life to God. But again, with the understanding that if I'm diligent in doing that, he is going to make me rich. And the blessings of the Lord make one rich, and they add no sorrow with it. So I hope this has inspired you as a youth and young adult. I hope that I have torn down certain myths that you may have been told. And this just simply inspires you not to be lazy. Get out there. Let's become diligent if we haven't been, and let's shake off that spirit of laziness so we can get all the blessings that God has for us. So again, this is Minister Shermod Cochran. Chosen Conquerors Youth Ministry. And remember, you were chosen for this. So go out there and conquer the world.